As the vast majority of customers shop from the safety of their homes amid another surge of COVID-19 cases, online shopping is seeing its biggest season ever. Amazon, for example, saw $4.8 billion in third-party sales in the days after Thanksgiving, a 60% increase from last year. But as online sales surge, so have the scams.
I got an email. Oh, your package is almost here. It couldn't get delivered. Click on the following link to get a status update so it can be delivered. I clicked on the link, and then all of a sudden my whole computer screen went blank.
Hackers are impersonating Amazon, FedEx, UPS, and other major shippers, texting and emailing fake package tracking links to launch malware or mine for personal information.
And then I get this big pop-up screen on my computer that said, okay, well, we've hacked your computer, pay us, and I don't remember how many Bitcoin it was, to this account, and then we will unlock your computer. And I freaked out.
Checkpoint, a cybersecurity firm that secures consumers and Fortune 500 companies, found that messages impersonating shippers were up 440% from October to November, and up 72% from this time last year.
We have our mind on other things like pandemic and our kids getting remotely educated and dealing with the pressures of exposure to a pandemic. So looking for shipping impersonations is the lowest on our priority list.
This is a look into why delivery fraud is on the rise, what's at stake for victims of the scams, and how to stop phishing attacks from flooding our devices. Foot traffic at regional malls on Black Friday this year was down more than 70%, according to S&P Global Market Intelligence. Meanwhile, Amazon's third-quarter sales increased by 37%, with profit up almost 200%. Walmart's e-commerce sales were up 79%, and Target's were up 155%. Fourth quarter is expected to be even bigger.
Everybody ordered over the Black Friday weekend, and here we are in the shipping phase of the holiday season, the first one, where people are expecting their packages and might be expecting an email from Amazon, and it's a perfect time for these bad actors to prey on consumers that are not paying close attention.
The phishing message includes a fake link to track or reroute your package, and clicking it will launch ransomware or take you to a site that mimics one of the big shipping companies, tricking you into entering financial or personal details. In the U.S., Checkpoint found that 65% of those were impersonating Amazon.
They're successful because most of us are doing business with Amazon. We're ordering on Amazon. And for us to get an email from Amazon about a package we ordered would be perfectly normal and expected. You're very likely to click on that, not knowing that, in fact, it takes you to a bogus, non-Amazon website that's in place simply to steal your username and password, and that they can then use for profit. They can sell it. They can use it on other websites. Chances are you reuse that password like most people do.
The phishing messages also commonly impersonate UPS, FedEx, and DHL.
It's so easy for them to send out these messages to hundreds of thousands or even millions of numbers that even if they only get a percentage of 1% of people responding to it, it still makes money for them.
The link may redirect to a counterfeit branded page promising a reward for filling out a survey, or it could trigger a ransomware attack, as it did for Hain.
One person clicks on the wrong link could launch a massive ransomware attack that we've witnessed over and over, bringing down large companies completely and causing massive financial damage. The guidance has always been never entertain these payments. Always send a message to the attackers that we don't play along with you. Well, that's how bad it's gotten. The FBI is sometimes, in some cases, saying, pay the ransom.
When Hain didn't pay the ransom of some 150 bitcoins, the equivalent of more than $66,000 at the time, he lost everything from his computer.
So I lost all my family pictures that I had on my hard drive, all my business contacts and my business information.
Months later, Hain was the victim of identity theft.
They had my address and my social security number and all my tax information. And then I got this letter from the IRS, when I filed my taxes, and they said, oh, you've already filed your taxes and you got your refund. And I was like, refund?
And when someone clicks once, it signals to scammers that it could work again.
We have heard horror stories from consumers who start getting so inundated with these text messages and phone calls that they're then forced to change their phone number.
For Hain, the attacks did not stop after the IRS told him his identity had been stolen.
I started sending emails to everybody in my contact list with open the following attached file. And I just had to spend like 3 days just reaching out to 1,000 people saying, don't open the email.
Another form of delivery fraud involves scammers leaving fake missed delivery tags, enticing users to call and leave personal information to reschedule the delivery. And popular on social media now are fraudulent gift exchanges, what's known as secret sister scams.
The problem is that this scam that is running on social media is not coming from your friends. You're being tacked onto a list that is generated from who knows where, and that's collecting personal information by a complete stranger.
Even unknowing users resharing gift exchange scams can be subject to penalties such as jail time and fines.
Chances are, if you send the gift, you're not going to get 30 gifts in return. That's a classic sign of a pyramid scheme. And pyramid schemes are illegal in all 50 states.
More general shopping-related scams are also on the rise. According to Checkpoint, early November saw more than double the special offer phishing campaigns than early October, making up 1 of every 826 emails.
You maybe get an email that tricks you into clicking on a link to a Pandora website that isn't real, where things are too good to be true, but you fall prey and you do business on the fake website, give up your credentials, all the way through to the shipping, and then maybe even into the return process.
Don't click on any links in that text or email. Don't press 1 to speak to a customer service representative. Hang up the phone, go to FedEx.com or USPS.com or DHL.com and put in tracking information yourself.
But as scammers get better at impersonating brands, fraud gets harder to spot.
It may have the logo on there. It may even be structured to look like the actual website for real.
Still, there are some warning signs to watch out for.
If they're asking you to click on a link to get more information, that's a big red flag.
You want to be on the lookout for, urgent wording, urgent. We have some money for you.
If you look closer, maybe it's Amazon.co instead of Amazon.com, or maybe there's an ever so slight misspelling, like the Z and the A are reversed in the domain name.
There are also ways to prevent the scam messages from reaching you in the first place.
You're going to make sure your devices are up to date, on all the security updates. That's how the providers are protecting consumers, is through those updates.
Operating systems do have built-in security protections, and so does each mobile provider. And apps like NomoRobo offer additional blocking features. Because hackers may still make it through, though, back up your machine and change passwords often. Turn on two-factor authentication and use a variety of different email accounts and passwords for different online activities.
For my kids, I use one account for them. They have their own, and it has parental controls on it. They're not on a machine with my credentials, because there's so many things that could go wrong with that.
Statistically, many people are reusing passwords. Don't do that. Use different passwords across your different logins.
And if you do click a link, check the site is encrypted before entering any personal information.
If it's not HTTPS and there's no S on the end, it's not encrypted. You can also look for the little lock icon, which is going to be up in the left-hand corner.
But if you do fall victim to one of these scams, or even just come across one, report it directly to the Federal Trade Commission or through the Better Business Bureau's Scam Tracker tool.
And that information is actually used by the Federal Trade Commission, by state, local, and federal law enforcement agencies. So perhaps somebody on their IT team can go back and look at that if they're working on a particular case and try to trace down the bad guys.
You can also file complaints with the Internet Crime Complaint Center, fraud.org, or your state attorney general. Inform your carrier of a spam text by forwarding it directly to SPAM. Once a phishing attack is reported, the U.S. Postal Service and the FBI can get involved, but it's largely up to the FTC to investigate.
I think it's really important that we empower and adequately fund the agencies that go after these scammers. Number one, the Federal Trade Commission. They have a huge responsibility to police unfair and deceptive practices across the entire economy. And yet their workforce and their funding is only a fraction of what it was in the 1970s.
Enforcement is also difficult because scammers often leave little trace.
These are scammers who, chances are, have set up hundreds or thousands of lookalike sites so that even if one of them gets shut down, they just move on to the next one. These are organized criminals. We've seen a lot of them coming out of places like Eastern Europe, out of places like the Philippines, West Africa. Sometimes we see them coming out of the Caribbean.
The companies being impersonated by scammers are also fighting back. Amazon told CNBC it will go after scammers, working with the FTC or the Better Business Bureau. In a statement, Amazon said, any customer that receives a questionable email, call, or text from a person impersonating an Amazon employee should report them to Amazon customer service. Amazon investigates these complaints and will take action if warranted. FedEx told CNBC it does not send unsolicited text messages or emails to customers requesting money or package or personal information, and it asked customers to report fraud. UPS has similar policies and a dedicated reporting email, as does DHL. DHL also told CNBC it partners with a technology company to help us detect trademark infringements, counterfeit sales, phishing attacks, bogus recruitment ads, other types of fraud, and more.
People call them up and looking for the package that never showed up. And they have to, unfortunately, it ends up being these companies' telephone representatives who often have to break the bad news to consumers that they have been defrauded.
The companies that make our devices are also on guard. Microsoft, for example, has a digital crimes unit that works with law enforcement and claims to have rescued more than 500 million devices from cybercriminals since 2010. In its recent digital defense report, Microsoft said it stopped more than 1 billion phishing emails in 2019, with attacks up 35% overall in the first half of 2020. Apple, meanwhile, offers public recognition and even bounties up to $1 million to users who report security issues.
As long as people have been exchanging things between each other, people have been scammed. Just be aware that the ways that scammers are contacting victims and getting victims to pay continually changes with the technology.
So what's the next scam to watch out for?
Scammers have figured out what works. And our suspicion is, along with government officials, is they will take a real hard look at the COVID vaccines.
Checkpoint found fake vaccines being sold online for bitcoins, equivalent to around $300, and phishing emails containing a malicious file with vaccine language in the name that, if clicked on, installs software that mines usernames and passwords from the device.
Organized crime is really gearing up to try and exploit people's desire to get this vaccine. So consumers should really expect to start seeing messages on social media, emails, phone calls, text messages offering to get you to the front of the line for the vaccine if you'll pay some money up front. That is a big worry for us. And I think certainly in the coming months, we'll be doing everything we can to educate consumers, because definitely there's the potential for many, many people to get hurt by this.